Hello, everybody. It is 10:47 p.m. Central Time on the 15th of January, 2021. Late night update here, Friday night, still here in the United States at least, and I hope you're doing well. We're here to talk about seismic events. It's an impromptu update, but nonetheless, I am going to record it. It's been 4 days since I've uploaded anything over on YouTube, and people are getting anxious. I have been doing updates on Twitch live for my Twitch audience, but haven't been saving them over the past 2 days. That all being said, for those of you who are new here really quick, we're using Earthquake 3D, the program, and we're looking at the EMSC out of Europe. Additionally, we're looking at the USGS coming out of the United States. And finally, the earthquakes that are raised high off the globe are deep down into the earth. These are deep earthquakes. And we watch for deep earthquakes because they have a shallower, larger earthquake effect. And I want you to remember this right here on the screen right now. The concentric waves forming in on each other. Hammering in, there's nowhere to compress down into the fluid, and hammers in and up in a singularity or a spike. Now this is happening in a tank of water, but I think the same thing's happening underneath the plates in the magma. So just look at it again. There we go, hammering in the full force of the combined concentric waves. Now I want you to imagine this happening over hundreds, if not thousands of miles down below these locations where the deep earthquakes are. Then, when the deep earthquakes happen, so at one end of the Pacific, northwest, and at one end of the Pacific, the south portion of the Pacific, deep earthquakes hammering up, and then a spread occurs. And I'll show that to you here in this standing wave example in a tank. Again, spreading through the fluids. Imagine deep earthquakes on this side and deep earthquakes all the way at the other end of the tank, and the waves combining, instead of becoming chaotic and jostling around, they organize and become standing waves and spread across and out and away from where the deep earthquakes are occurring, okay? I have to explain all that before we go into what's happening between the deep earthquakes. So that standing wave that I just showed you in the tank, spreading out multiple waves the same size, we're getting the same sized earthquakes spreading out across the plate. And you'll see that as I name these off that have struck in the last 48 hours. 5.1, 5.1, 4.5, 4.6, in between all of it, a 6.2 and a 5.7. And I do have to talk about this. You know, oh man. This was a big earthquake, and when it struck, apparently it leveled just entire regions around where the earthquake struck. People trapped in buildings. It was really troubling to see all that. And much love to everybody over in Indonesia. But 5.1, 5.1, 4.5, 4.6, I'll highlight these for you. 4.5, 4.6, 4.6, 4.7 to 4.6, and going to the north, 4.6, 4.7, 4.7. So it's all the same sized earthquakes, spreading out over to the west, 4.6 to 4.7, up to the north, 4.6 to 4.7. Then we reaccumulate on the coast of Japan with another deep earthquake, and the deep earthquake is on our letter D. So, carrying on, look, same sized earthquakes. 4.0, or I'm sorry, 4.8 and a 4.3, and then up to the north, a 4.3 and a 4.7. So wait, a 4.8 and a 4.3 next to each other, and a 4.7 and a 4.3 next to each other. Down to the south, we have 4.7s, 4.6s, 4.6s, 4.7s, all the same size. Spreading in between these locations, we have new volcanic blasts, for instance, Mount Merapi, with a new blast, and I have not checked the Volcanic Ash Advisory Center. Let's just quickly go over and look at it. Reventador in Ecuador, Popocatépetl in Mexico, Klyuchevskoye up in Kamchatka's peninsula with a 20,000-foot high blast, fairly large. Suwanisejima, Sabancaya, Klyuchevskoye. I don't see Merapi on here, but we did watch the blast earlier today. Okay. Fuego in Guatemala, Popocatépetl, Sanjay, Reventador. I'm just looking for any new additions to the list other than Mount Merapi that, well, like I said, is not on the list. Oh, 1 second, guys. Hold on. Got to move this. Had to move my little microphone stand. Sorry there, guys. Okay, so the only new one that I would think that's actually on the list is Mount Merapi. And, well, I mean, not on this list, but we watched the eruption today, and that's over in Indonesia. So, recapping, big earthquake with major damage over in Indonesia, centered in between all our 4.6s and 4.7s. The 4.6s and 4.7s are spreading across the plate boundaries. And let me show those to you really quick if you're a new viewer. The red lines that I always show in the updates here. Oh, hold on. Looks like we have a new 5 down here in Chile. But look at the red lines in the West Pacific going up to Japan. Do you see where they come back together on the coast of Japan? That's where our new deep earthquake is. Up off the coast of Japan right here, a new deep 5.2. And we have a letter D there. So there's an H-shaped bend in the plate boundary there. And we'll go back over to the map here. And the 4.6s and 4.7s are spreading out across Indonesia and up across to Japan. Then further up and across over into the Aleutian Island chain. And we're really not exaggerating when we say that. It goes up to Kamchatka with a 4.7. And over to the east, we have a 4.4, a 4.3, and a 4.9. Now, the 4.9 is pretty close to the 4.7. It's just a hair of a point off from each other. But again, I just call that a 5 if you combine in the other 4s. And what's that? That's a 5 in between the other 4.7s. So going from Alaska all the way back down to Indonesia, it's all 4.6 to 4.7 with 5s in between, and the big 6 from yesterday. All from our deep earthquakes hammering in. Let me show that to you again. Hammering in on the underside of the plate, which then spreads up, out, and away in a standing wave. With all the same sized earthquakes, think of it like this. 4.6, 4.7, 4.6, 4.7. And then you add in more deep earthquakes, and then the amplitude, the size of the waves increase. And then you get 5, 5, 5, 5. And when they recombine in the middle, you get your 6, the bigger earthquake in the middle point between the sets of waves. And as the waves spread through the tank, and you pump it more full of energy, the waves become bigger, and the earthquakes become larger. And that wave, that standing wave, is spreading through the tank, but the tank is the series of red lines going around the planet. So the hammering action comes up below here, spreads up over to Alaska, and spreads out across over into Europe. Additionally, it spreads across this way. And look at South America. Let's go over and check out the East Caribbean, because it's the same thing. Look, not exaggerating. 4.7 to 4.8 here. That's right off the coast of Colombia and Ecuador. 4.6 to 4.7 on the coast of Peru. Down to the south, same thing. 4.7 down off the coast of Chile. And the new 5 that just struck in the last hour, 3:53, so literally within the last hour, right here in the middle, in between the 4.6 and 4.7. Let me highlight the 4.6 and 4.7, and in between the two, right at that middle fulcrum point, that's where the new 5, the bigger earthquake, struck, just like what was going on all the way over here. The only thing missing is a new large 6 in between all the 4s and 5s. So that middle point should get hit. Also, Central America had a near 6, which is a 5.9. And let me show you where that struck. Right up here. So do you see where the red lines come together? Let me make sure you guys can see all this on the screen here. Where the red lines come together, that's the plate boundaries. And that's where the new 6 struck, or 5.9. We also have Fuego volcano erupting right in here in Guatemala. And to the north, Popocatépetl volcano erupting. But a new 6 here, look downstream. Look over to the east. Following over to the east, look what there is. There's a red line on our map, but it's got an arrow on it. On their map, the red line has the stair step right at the Cayman Islands. Now that a new 6 has struck here, we have to watch at the halfway point between these two sets of quakes. Between the quakes out here, out off the coast of Central America, and the quakes all the way over here to the east, the big swarm happening in Puerto Rico. The halfway point, if we go between them and we take the stair-step bend in the plate into account, puts us pretty much right next to Cayman Islands. Here. So I'll warn for something in the upper 4 to low 5 level to be coming across. I'd expect this new 5.9, I hope I got this right, to take a step down as it goes over to the east, and it'll strike at that halfway point. Again, you got to remember the standing waves in the tank. they fill in each other's middle points. I could just park my mouse over it, and you'll see one wave height touches the mouse, and then the middle point touches the mouse of the depth or of the trough of the wave. So the same thing's happening seismically speaking, and it should fill in that middle point. And then it should go over to the east, and we should see a dramatic increase in the number of earthquakes over in Puerto Rico, as well as the magnitude should take at least a magnitude up. So we should see 4s return into Puerto Rico. Terremoto, earthquake activity. Terremoto means earthquake in Spanish. So terremoto increase over in Puerto Rico, as well as this near 5.0 level activity. Could be a little bigger or a little smaller, but I'm putting it right at 5, right next to Cayman Islands. So that also means, technically we have to warn Cayman Islands, Jamaica, Cuba, the little triangle right there where the arrow is. Okay. Now, before we get into the United States, really quick, let's just talk about the earthquake activity on the southeast side of South America. It's 5.0 and 5.2. Again, it's same-sized earthquake as what's on the other side of the planet, 5.1 and 5.2, basically. And it's on the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, and energy has come around up to the north and down to the south over the past week. So last week, we were up here on the 2 X's, right next to them, and this week, we're down to the south on the red X's, down to the south with the red-colored earthquakes. Now we struck between the two. You may remember last week when I was talking about the boomerang zone here, and I brought it up and I didn't really go much beyond that. But take a look at it. It's a 5.2 and a 5.4 out here. So there's 5.2, there's 5.4. Down to the south, it's a 5.2 and a 5.5. Now look, up to the north, 5.4 to 5.5 on the other X. So how many X's is that are getting hit almost directly with the same sized activity? And the only spot now that's filled in is the new middle point between last week's earthquakes on the X's. So X marks the spot to the south, check it off. X marks the spot to the north, check it off. All same size. 5.4 spreading across the planet. We saw it come in last week. 5.5 came in last week across, and the 5.4 struck down here to the south. 5.4 to 5.5 struck down here to the south. Same size. And you can see, if you've been watching over the last week, this is just 1 week's worth of earthquakes, by the way, that you can see the reddish-colored earthquakes are the older earthquakes, and the lighter-colored earthquakes are in the last couple days. So at the start of the week, 5.5s came across, and then 4.7, 4.8 spread across the entire plate, and filling in between those points, 5s. Europe, hey, check it out. Look at this. First of all, the activity that struck up here, the big earthquake, 6.8, struck up at the Mongolia-Russia border region. But since then, a new mid-range 5.4 to 5.5. Let me get a little sip of my drink here. Another same size earthquake. And the spot where it struck is on the plate boundary in Iran. Let me show it to you. Right here, the thick red line again. And this is a spot we watch for energy to come out of the Indian Ocean and go up to the west by northwest, spreading across Iran up into Turkey, Greece, and Europe. But somebody else brought this up. So apparently there was some kind of earthquake that struck out here in the Indian Ocean. Do you see anything on the USGS map? Apparently a mid-range 5 struck in the Indian Ocean somewhere. That's just talk and chat. Just bringing that up. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit the microphone there. But that's just talk and chat. But when I see it, I remember it, and especially the magnitude. So if it's a mid-range 5 striking out here, are we shocked? Because all the way around the rest of the planet, it's the same thing. Spread of mid-range 5s going down across the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, spread of mid-range 5s going up across over to Japan, spread of mid-range 5s going all the way out to Iran. That's again on the thick red line. Now we're going to follow the thick red line over, let me make sure you can see this, over to the west, out of Iran and go into Turkey. And look where it goes. It makes a W-shaped bend across South Europe or the Mediterranean and goes up into Italy, and then it spreads further to the west and goes out, makes a T-shaped intersection like a road dead ending into the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. And we have a letter X there, which I've already showed you once in this update. It was struck by a 5.4 just a few days ago. There it is. Again, the same size that struck in Iran struck a few days ago out on the X. It's all the same size energy going around the planet right now. But in between the two, what happened? 4s have returned back into Croatia. as well as a new outbreak going back across Greece. Greece got hit by 5.0 activity, and now between the two, Italy is starting to move at middle portion, central portion of Italy, right next to Norcia. Just a few twos at this point, but really I want you to look at Italy this way. So up here in Croatia, we've broken apart with the large earthquake, and it still keeps getting hit. I've warned from South Croatia, right at the border, across Bosnia, down towards Montenegro and Albania. This area. Now the area right here starts to move. So they're parallel to each other, and the warning is across the Adriatic Sea. So I'm watching central Italy across the Adriatic Sea over towards Montenegro, Bosnia, South Croatia, and the magnitudes, now I think it's pretty much a slam dunk. We've got 5.4 coming in. Think of this like a river. You see which way the arrows point. A 5.4 just got dumped in. It's going to lose a little steam or a little energy as it comes across, but it won't lose that much. Should strike at the middle point, just like these standing waves I'm showing you in the tank again. The middle point between waves, one wave reaches up to the top, the next bottom fills in the middle point, and so forth, and the wave spreads. As the wave spreads, the same-sized earthquake spread. So if there's a 5.4 coming in, and it's not going to lose that much energy, it means 5.0 range is going to be striking right here, right where I told you. And it could go as far north. I mean, it's a matter of like 150 to 200 miles between all these locations. So we have to warn everybody in central Italy across the Adriatic over into Croatia and down into Bosnia. And I hope I got the magnitudes wrong. I hope nothing hits. But as it stands now, something's on the way. Again, this is like a storm, and you're like on a river. Now, in Europe, the river forks three ways. So the incoming 5.4 is going to go over, reach to here, break three ways. So we hope it breaks three ways evenly, and you get a spread going around Romania, you get a spread going around Ukraine up into Poland, you get another spread going across Central Europe, and another spread going across North Africa, which I will show you on the USGS map here, following the red line. USGS has nothing in Europe, right? But the edge of the craton, or the edge of the plate in Europe, which I can show you here, here's the view of Europe from, I guess, aerial photography or space view, I guess. I'm going to turn off everything. Just leave the borders and labels on. There we are. Pick your favorite country in Europe as a point of reference, and then I'm going to turn off the borders and labels. The S-shaped bend in Eastern Europe. This is a mountain range, series of mountains, the Carpathian Mountains, who knows. But S-shaped bend is covered in trees, but those are mountains. That's the edge of the eastern edge of the European craton. Now getting back over to the USGS map, they have nothing. But there's a giant S-shaped bend there. In the plate itself, we put an arrow around there because earthquakes flow around that and go out and around that edge and go out across North Europe, following through Poland, going out to Holland, going out to the English Channel, going out to the North Sea, Scotland, and furthermore all the way out to Iceland and Svalbard and the North Pole, when the push is big enough. If the push is big enough and it comes up into Central Europe, we eventually expect the break to go out and around and end up out here at the North Pole, basically. Arctic Circle, Iceland North. That has not happened in the last 2 weeks. Just barely anything up here. 1.5 after the big activity down here in Croatia, Europe. But I would expect the new break to take place back down here, right where the three come together. Then is spread to go across all three directions, and we'll get 3s and 4s again going across North Europe, 5s going out towards the Azores, and eventually we will see Scotland and UK move, followed shortly thereafter or around the same time by new activity all the way up here at the North Pole. That should all happen this coming week. The North Pole. I know. All right. Yeah, North Pole. Yeah, who cares, right? Okay, Alaska. Now, we're up in the Arctic Circle and everybody up here cares. Going across Alaska, the number of earthquakes has slightly increased over the past few days. We call that a frequency increase in the number of earthquakes, but I'm not shocked, because if we go back and follow this over to the West Pacific, that's where we're going through the roof. with a bunch of deep earthquakes. And one more time, the tank with the same sized waves spreading out across the tank. Same sized earthquakes spreading out and across the Aleutian Island chain. 4.7, 4.8, 4.6, so forth. All the way over, and we get to the Aleutian Islands middle point, 4.9, and we take a step down. We jump like a ramp up into the plate. So the plate boundary, I'll show it to you again, the red line here, going up in Alaska. Earthquakes coming across, jumping up into Alaska, and like a ramp, jumping up into the plate, where the earthquakes then reach the interior portion of the craton edge, which is the accretionary belt or accretionary plane. It's marked in green here on the diagram I'm showing you on the screen. Hopefully you can see that as well. And it goes into there where there are faults that then go down and meet into the edge of the craton, which is the purple portion. I'm going to show you over here on Google Earth because you can actually see it in the mountains. So the edge of the craton, the interior portion, goes across Alberta and British Columbia, goes down across into the United States from the northwest. And you can follow the deformed and stable portion of the craton, the rusty brownish color, right up into Idaho, Montana, and down into Yellowstone of all places. The edge of the craton goes right across it. And the earthquakes follow that. So I'm going to show those to you in the past couple days, for instance, the last 48 hours worth of earthquakes here, 0.0 and greater. And what you'll see is a line of earthquakes coming out of Montana, going down into Yellowstone Park, further going down across Utah, and then jumping over down across into Texas, Oklahoma, a few, just one in Kansas, New Madrid seismic zone, and you don't see it now, but few earthquakes struck up here on the Quebec side of the border, or actually that's New Brunswick. That was a day ago. You'll also see a line of earthquakes going down along the coast, starting up in Washington. This is 48 hours, going down across Oregon, which we have to go check these because they've been reporting a lot of earthquakes as explosions for some reason. We get down to California, same thing's going on. Diagonal line of quakes going along the coast, and another noteworthy diagonal line of quakes going across the California-Nevada border. Even the untrained eye should be able to see this. Two diagonal lines of quakes, both going in the same direction, basically. Now, look at the craton diagram one more time. Look out of Northern California. And look what we have here. We have an arrow pointing over into Utah, and it goes right back over into this huge cluster of quakes. Multiple different events struck today, both 3.9. I'll call those 2 4s. Look how they overlap with each other. The standing wave again. But this time it's in a small area, and this is a volcanic location. Both locations are volcanic. Over to the west, a 3.6 struck in the Bay Area last night. That's over on the San Andreas, actually the Hayward Fault, coming right next to Diablo Peak volcano. Out off the coast, a 3.8. So really, it's like the same sized earthquakes. Again, if we were in a tank and we were seeing the same size waves in between, on both ends of the tank, we have 3.8, 3.9, and in between, our smaller earthquakes connect almost perfectly back up to the area that's shifting. So which do we want to look up first? I guess we could start up here in the Puget Sound, which is pretty simple. There's nothing there except for water itself. We're in the middle of the Puget Sound, right between the Olympic Peninsula and Seattle. We're next to the Seattle Fault. Now, a few people were actually reporting small tremors today, feeling tremors up in Seattle. I wouldn't be surprised. You have a series of small earthquakes striking right next to downtown. The location is called the Seattle Fault. Let me show it to you. Right here, it actually spans the Puget Sound, and that's right where our earthquakes are, pretty much right in the middle of it. And that's the first location we're talking about up here. The second and third locations go down across southeast of Seattle, and we dead end with the largest of the bunch right at Mount Rainier. So let me show it to you, and then tell you in between the two are power lines. I know, high voltage power lines. People are asking me, how could there be a relation? Man, we're getting into some fringe science here that even I would call fringe. Maybe piezoelectric, however you say it. Electricity in the crust. Coming up out of the crust or maybe going down into the crust next to the power lines could precipitate an earthquake. Maybe. It's just a guess, but the earthquakes go right down here to Mount Rainier. I'm going to turn back on our Smithsonian volcanic place marks in case you don't know about Mount Rainier and its crater right here. But I think everybody in the Pacific Northwest knows about that. That's where we dead end into. The rest of these, like I said, just go due north of the volcano. And it's no exaggeration, we go due north of here. And that's where all these power lines are. And that's where the earthquakes are. It's just really odd. It's happening all over the place, all over the world, not just the United States. These earthquakes next to power lines or power plants. So Seattle fault's moving. A few small earthquakes connecting between next to the power lines, going down to Mount Rainier. Over to the east is the only one I'm really curious about. What's up with that? Entiat, Washington again. Okay, let's pull the coordinates and just see how close we are to anything of any significance. Whenever I see a lone small quake out somewhere, I usually go look it up just to see if there's anything there. Sometimes it could be an explosion. Sometimes it could be a quarry. At this point, we're next to a place called Waterville. The high voltage power lines again. And again, they're the big kind. They're not the kind that go to your house. So to be within a few miles of that, it's just too weird. It's just so weird. Okay. Down to the south, we're on all three sides. All three. 3 of the 4 sides, north, west, and east of Mount St. Helens. And I'll pull the earthquake in the middle. So we're really just going from Mount Rainier to a power line back to another volcano, Mount St. Helens. This does not mean eruption. Do not worry about an eruption, at least not yet, but I'm not going to put any faith in tilt meters or sulfur dioxide levels either. I'm only going to be putting my faith in seismic activity around the volcanoes. Kilauea, didn't show us any tilt meter or sulfur dioxide readings of any concern, and then boom, it just blew. I'm not going to say that's going to happen with Mount St. Helens. I'm just saying I trust the seismic. So if we're on northwest and eastern side of Mount St. Helens, just like we're on the flanks of Mount Rainier, it means the volcanoes are being slightly perturbed. And we know what from the Juan de Fuca fracture zone. It's a lightning bolt-shaped fracture zone. Actually, it's a letter M. Letter M as in Michael, like my name. Let me show it to you. So it really looks like a lightning bolt out here because you can only see the southern arm of it. The northern arm makes this more like M shape. And here, the jagged edges of the Juan de Fuca actually belong to the Pacific Plate for the most part. So like saw teeth grabbing into this section. And energy transfers from the western portion over into the plate, over into Laurentia, North America. When that happens, there are tremors which take place. Tremors, these little red dots that you see here, for instance, there's only 7 of them as of yesterday, or actually today. 7 tremors in southwest Oregon. But look out in the ocean, and you'll see there's like a giant arrow pointing right into pretty much where the tremors are. Now we can go back a couple days. Let's go back to the 14th. 0, nothing. 13, 26. But look where they are. Again, right in the middle where the arrow's pointing, pretty much if you go right into the center of it, and then to the southern arm and the northern arm. Here, here, and here. Same time that's going on, we had a new actually it was a 4-point-something earthquake, 4.3, plus a 3.6, plus a 3.8, striking out here in the ocean. Now, out in the ocean, this is down below this. Thousands of feet down to the sea floor, and then, of course, the Pacific Plate is down below the North American Plate, and this is creating tension between out in the ocean and on land, and energy's coming up and in. Like, this is the bottom of a bathtub, this is the side and top of the bathtub, and we are pointing in and up into it. And the movement's happening up on land, down in, of course, the plate, and it's being created, that movement is being created by shifting of the plates, compensation between the two. So this creates tension, we get vibration and shifting here, and they assign magnitudes to these, even though these really aren't breaks in the plate. Let's go back another day to the 12th, 3 days ago. Look, 139 of them. Look where they are. They're down at the very southern tip of the Juan de Fuca at this point, and let's go back over and look at the plate boundary map. And here, on the southern arm of the Juan de Fuca fracture zone, the red lines come out and go down into California, don't they? That's the San Andreas Fault. That's also the plate boundary. So energy is flowing down out of that location. And let's jump back over and show you the earthquakes. Lo and behold, the earthquakes match that down through California. So recapping, I know it just got a little confusing, but let me just recap very simply. Tremors are shifting across Washington, Oregon, and Northern California, vibrating as the plate is shifting. The Juan de Fuca is creating that shifting. From there, we're spreading out with earthquakes going out, down, and away following the Craton edge. We go down across California, and we get down to the San Andreas, where the flow goes down following the red line, and then look over at the California-Nevada border. Pretty much like the San Andreas, all the other faults are focusing in like a funnel in here, right at the California-Nevada border, coming down out of Northern California, going along the border, and coming down out of Northern Nevada, going due south, dead-ending into this. Now that location that it's dead-ending into is a supervolcano, and it's also, look at the purple portion of the Craton edge. Look where the purple portion goes. Purple portion goes right across that location at the California-Nevada border, where the seam between the deformed Craton and the accretionary belt takes place, or is. And here's the supervolcano. Oh, wait, whoop! We have a hot spot out here. And let's go zoom in on the location at the supervolcano west of Mammoth in the middle of winter, on a mountain peak next to Trinity Lakes. Now, this is a confirmed supervolcano. Here's Mammoth Mountain. It's a smaller volcano on the side of the supervolcano caldera. Long Valley caldera, 1,000 cubic kilometers of melt down below Long Valley caldera. We have a hot spot there. The only one in the entire region. Now, these hot spots appear next to power lines sometimes. Additionally, the hot spots appear at volcanic locations, go figure. So I'm wondering about that. We're at this location. Look at the earthquakes. They went through the roof. 2 4.0 earthquakes and a bunch of smaller activity. We call that a frequency increase, and I use the analogy of a snare drum where the snare drum starts to roll really fast. Well, in this case, it's the snare drum rolling really fast, and now 2 4.0 earthquakes, 3.9s, come beating in like the beat of a tom drum or a bass drum. Maybe call it a tom drum, a mid-range big drum, not a full-on bass drum yet. Yet, I say yet because that's 2 beats of the bigger drum on top of the rolling snare drum of earthquakes. So all the smaller earthquakes are the rolling snare drum, and the 2 4s that just hit are more like a medium-range size drum. And you can see the lead up to it, how it got there, which way it came in from. Let's go back over to the USGS fault zone map. Look at the faults. I don't even really need to even pull up each earthquake. You can just compare the faults and look at the earthquakes as they came rolling in from the northwest. And it all goes back up to here. That's shifting. And we can prove that that is shifting one more time with all of these in the past few days. Hundreds more tremors shifting on the southern arm of the Juan de Fuca on land. So the plate shifted, earthquakes spread out from that, following the red lines down to the south, pulling up at the supervolcano, and then along the coast. The other spot where we're pulling up and we're seeing a frequency increase in the number of earthquakes, this location. Let's show it to you. It's called Anderson, Cobb, or Geysers, depending on which location you click on. And you'll see the name here from the USGS. Now, Clear Lake Volcano is at this location, and there's a series of geothermal turbines where they've drilled into this to get steam to turn the turbines. So one side, we're at a supervolcano. At the other side, we're at a volcanic field. Here's Clear Lake Volcanic Field, Mount Canocti, and so forth at the center of it. And on the side, all of these geothermal turbines. Pipelines here. We can follow the pipelines to drill points. And the drill points getting steam to take up to the turbines to provide electrical power to the area. And there's the volcanic field they drilled into the side of. Okay? So a line of quakes going down to this volcano, stacking up, and a line of quakes going down to this volcanic center and stacking up. Now, you probably are wondering what's across the border. I mean, if the supervolcano is right there on the California side of the border, what about over to the east? That's where the predominance of the other earthquakes are. Well, at the California-Nevada border directly, Mono Lake
Volcanic Field, and over to the east, Monte Cristo Hills Volcanic Center, and we are connected directly across now between quakes. It's a perfect connection. Southwest to northeast or northeast to southwest, going this way, across, diagonally, going down into the supervolcano. Let me show you Mono Lake, and I've been saying it wrong this whole time. It is Mono Lake. Here's Mono Lake. Here's the border. Earthquake's right at the border, right on the side of Mono Lake. We go across and follow over to this Monte Cristo Hills Volcanic Center where the 6.5 earthquake struck. So a line or a wall of quakes. Let's back it out. Going from here at this volcanic center, back across over to this volcanic center, and making a bend and going down to this supervolcano. Now we have a new hotspot on the side of the supervolcano. The only one in the region. And that's where all the earthquakes are. Come on. Now, look parallel, diagonally parallel, because look at the shape of California, and look at the fault, and look what's going on over along California's coast. Same thing. But it's spread out. It's spread out across the San Andreas Fault, going from it's going from Mount Diablo with a 3.6 all the way down here next to Monterey Bay, and then east by southeast, following the San Andreas dead ending at Parkfield. Let me show it to you this way on the USGS map one more time. Recapping. Line of quakes coming down the California-Nevada border, dead ending at the supervolcano, and going across the border over to Monte Cristo, making a wall like earthquakes going across the border. Jump across, parallel, right down to here, and our earthquakes are coming down past Monterey Bay and dead ending right about there at a place called Parkfield. And let me pull up the southernmost quake here on the creeping section of the San Andreas. Cholame. We got Cholame up in there. Cholame. No, bro, it's Colame. Colome. Ah, yes, Californians. I say it both ways. I'm from Missouri. So right here on the San Andreas Fault, look where we are. Just remember that. The name Avenal and Coalinga, right next to it over in the valley. The earthquakes are going down the creeping section of the San Andreas, and in Avenal and Coalinga, we're stopping, or right next to them, right about here. There's Parkfield. Colame is somewhere down here to the south. And here's all of our thousands of oil wells that start at the north side of the San Andreas. Creeping section. There's a solar farm right there, but it doesn't make up for all of these, which are thousands of drill points right next to the San Andreas. Here's San Andreas. Here's your drill points. Now guess what? The earthquakes come down the San Andreas, and then they kind of putter out right where the major drill points start. But then down where the drill points kind of putter out, down here at the south tip of the valley, look what picks up. All the same sized quakes. So we have 2s and mid-range 1s coming down and going down to next to Parkfield and Colame, and then picking up down at the south tip of the valley. And let me show you what's at the south tip of the valley, going across Frazier Park. So we follow the San Andreas down. You can see it in the mountain ranges. And we get right down here, and here's Frazier Park. Lebec, Gorman, where's Frazier Park? Somewhere right in here. And let's pull the coordinates so we can be pretty accurate on this. Where should I get them? I'll get the 1.5. Fillmore, California. Ah, yes. You got to look these up. When you see what's at these locations, you're going to understand why we're going to this. See this location called Castaic Lake? A bunch of fires broke out all the way around here over the past several months, going back to last year. Now, we're just a matter of miles from our huge oil pumping operations. And they're big. I don't know if you can see them from this level, but I'll zoom in and start showing them to you. I always look 6 to 10 miles, and I'll get a line measurement tool on this so you can really see how close we really are. That's down to the south where I have them marked. Our other oil pumping operations are right here on the side of Castaic Lake. Here's Castaic Lake and the dam. Here's all our oil pumping operations. They look like little pads on the ground. And that's where we are. But I want to measure, I want to see how far we are from the nearest marked pumping operation. There's likely more somewhere out here on the either south or north side, but I want to measure from the ones I already know about. I always look 6 to 10 miles because they can drill out by several miles. Well, we're 12 miles from the edge of our marked pumping operation, and like I said, I know there's more. Let's go see if we can find more. Yeah, I mean, here's 6 miles away. Look, there's 4 on top of the hill. So just from the ones that I have marked down to the south, there's more. Look, it keeps going further to the north here. Let's follow this to the north, see how far we go. There's more there, okay. I think that looks like where it stops. Man, we're just a matter of like 4 or 5 miles at this point from a pumping operation. Right down to, and this is just rough, but 4 miles. 4.7 miles, and they can drill out by miles at an angle of all things. Okay, so let's recap. Line of earthquakes coming down, going to geysers. Big stack at the geothermal pumping operation where they drilled. Then a line of quakes going past Mount Diablo in the Bay Area, which is a volcano. And we go down to the east-southeast following the creeping section of the San Andreas. We dead end basically at Parkfield, Kolami. And right next to it, all those drill points. Then we pick up down to the south, right next to the drill points. Do you need to see in the south tip of the valley too? I can just show you. I could pull the coordinates on this if you need me to. Let's do that. There's always going to be some new person that just thinks I'm just randomly zooming in somewhere. If I put the coordinates in from the USGS, there's no disputing. So I take the extra time to do it just for the new people. There we are. There's the earthquake epicenter from the USGS. What do we have going on here? Right next to it, a couple 100 feet away. See all these? These are oil wells. Again, they might be doing gas there, but, I mean, again, we're just a matter of a couple 100 feet. There's also high voltage power lines there, but, I mean, come on, we're right at the pumping operations directly. So, pumping operation here, pumping operation here. What about in between the two? I don't know. I really don't. I have to go look it up. There, Fraser Park. I told you the name when we started. I just have the location memorized in general, just the name, because previous earthquakes and fires and hotspots that broke out here. Hotspots, fires, earthquakes. Fraser Park. Is there anything here? Well, let's see. Looks like a little quarry of some kind. Maybe they quarried out where the houses are? I'm wondering if there's anything of any significance. Let's back it out and see. I know the oil pumping operate. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, hold on. I just had to look. We're right next to the fires that developed on a clear day. And right here, pumping. Oil and gas again. There it is, and it's within a matter of miles. There might even be more. There might be more right down here, right next to the earthquake epicenter. I mean, if I find them within a few miles, that's, again, I don't need to look any further. But we can't. Don't mistake the water tanks up on top of hills like this. Look for the pumps and the jacks. But again, like I said, we're close enough already. There's probably some right next to it. But anyway, let's measure and see how far we are from the ones we know about. And again, I always try to measure within 6 to 10 miles. Whoops. Like 10 miles exactly to the pumping operation here. And there's probably more in the valley here. Again, for every one that yeah, there are. Down here next to Grapevine. They even have pipeline and condensing station. That's for water there, but I'm talking about the pipeline there. The oil pipeline. Okay, anything else? That's enough. That's enough for me right there. All 3 earthquakes, all 3 1.5s are coming in directly next to drill points. We drop off next to drill points, we pick up next to drill points. Shall we carry on further down to the south, or should we go over here into Ridgecrest? Let's go over here into Owens Valley and Ridgecrest. So first of all, there's another diagonal line of earthquakes, just like all the others. Another one, just like the other one. Come on, guys. You're going to pass the quake over. Never mind. Never mind. Only old hippies are going to get that. But looking in Southern California, speaking of Southern California, only old hippies are going to get it. Haha. But Southern California, look at this. Right here, red line again. Look which way it's going. Owens Valley, the whole thing goes back up to the supervolcano, doesn't it? And those all go back up to Northern California, don't they? And they carry on into Oregon. That just shifted. So one more time. We shifted up here with all those little red dots, the tremors. Then a series of earthquakes spread down the San Andreas through the Bay Area. Volcano there, going down across, stopping at the drill points, picking back up at the drill points down to the south. Same time that's going on, a big line of quakes spanning out across all the faults, which you see here going across Northern California, reaching down to a pinnacle point at the supervolcano in Monte Cristo. Then, following that line, let's go compare the quakes. Look where we are. So where should we start? Should we start with the northernmost quake, or should we start with the cluster? Let's start with the cluster. And then we can just look a couple miles to the north if we need to. I already know what's in all these locations. I'm just doing this again for the new viewers. This is Volcano Peak, China Lake, Ridgecrest, the experimental facilities. Oh, all right, enough of that. Talking in the microphone like that, that's great. I love it. Here we are, Volcano Peak, and there's Cozo Volcanic Field. Now, over at La Soufriere Volcano down in the Caribbean, there's the new rising lava dome. You guys see the video of that the past week? Well, these are rising lava domes, but they rose a long time ago, and they're slowly rising over a long period of time. I would imagine there's also rapid growth experienced from time to time on those. Now, you see what's right next to it. Devil's Kitchen. That's not the name I gave it. It's where they drilled to get steam to turn these turbines. And it's a huge geothermal field where they drilled it a whole bunch of times and put in several turbines. That's where the earthquakes start. Now remember, I told you we could go a few miles to the north if we need to, just to show you what's up on the north side of here. And the only thing that's on the north side of here are more of these rising lava domes. See, this one right here is younger. This one right here is way older. Way older, but it's the same shape, same size, right next to it. So the rising lava domes are getting hit. We go down to the south and we're at Volcano Peak directly, which I didn't even show you. Hold on. Here's Volcano Peak with all its lava flows. Let's get a 360 on this thing. Look at that. Look at that crater. And the younger lava flows coming off of it, and next to it, a rising lava dome. This will eventually erupt someday. This thing will turn into this, or something like the other spatter cone on the base. And look how many spatter cones there are on the base of this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vents, if you will. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Separate little fissures that formed on the sides over here. Amazing, right? And that's where the line of earthquakes goes. It goes down along the east side of there, and it dead ends down here. And you see how it kind of spreads out. Here, hold on. See how it spreads out somewhat northwest to southeast. Let's show you on the USGS map. Look what goes northwest to southeast. Down here. This is the Garlock Fault. So the quakes come down, hit the Garlock, and spread out. Indicating there's some force or power behind that wave that's spreading out across the tank. And in this case, the tank is made up of the small red lines. Dropping off quakes down here, hits here, spreads out like a wall. So it's putting force down to this Garlock. And then guess what's going to happen? Energy is going to spread down across the Mojave Desert and pool back up on the South San Andreas, the thick red line down to the south. Thick red line carries on, and that's the San Andreas. Goes down into Mexico and changes into the Imperial Fault. The thin red lines, the energy is going to transfer across and drop off earthquakes along the way. And look what's already started to happen today. Earthquake out in the Mojave Desert. Let's go pull the coordinates. Ludlow, California. Uh-oh, we are at Ludlow, California. Why am I saying uh-oh to Ludlow? Well, it rhymes, but you'll remember this in the future. This spot is where I got my fame on YouTube to start. Back in 2011, July of 2011, right here where the earthquake coordinates are, for crying out loud, right next to there, maybe within a mile, radar on a clear summer day without a cloud in the sky detected moisture coming out from this extreme desert-like location, and it was coming from a ground level source next to these lava flows. This is called Pisgah Crater, and it was coming from the east side. Radar was picking up the steam plume, or whatever it was moisture, coming out of the ground, and it was miles wide. It wasn't like a phreatic blast. It wasn't like some huge volcanic blast. It was just miles wide of some kind of moisture being detected, a light moisture return. And it was coming from a ground level. The radar was detecting it from a few thousand feet down, coming up to the base level of the radar. And then it was spreading out. And the moisture was dissipating across. Santa Ana was blowing in, and it was blowing to the west. From the east to the west, it was blowing out of the desert. It was taking that moisture and blowing it down all the way down here, down towards North LA. And by the time it got to the mountain range down here at North LA, it was starting to dissipate. So it wasn't smoke or anything. It was moisture. So I saw it in my video that I made. Actually, my viewers contacted me first and said, "What is this on radar?" I said, "I don't know. It's coming out of the world. Let's go look on Visible Satellite." So we opened up Visible Satellite. So what you could see with your human eye, clear day. Not a cloud in the sky. Desert, 100-something degrees out there. It's July in the desert. And you couldn't see anything. It looked hazy. That's all it looked. It wasn't sand either. It wasn't some kind of blowing wind. It was moisture. It checked as moisture on the radar too. And I made my video, showed it, and said, look, it's a moisture something coming from the desert out here next to these volcanoes. I don't know what to make of it. Looks like some kind of steam plume to me. That's my video. Within hours, the USGS picked up my video. Keep in mind, I only had a few thousand subscribers at the most at the time. This is July of 2011. I had been making videos for 6 months at the most. And they issued a full press release about my video, trying to debunk it, my video, saying I was mistaken, and said it was a thunderstorm. Now, they ran into a serious problem and had to delete their statement about me. You can still find it online, but the problem they ran into was this was on day one. Nobody, including me and them, thought it would go on for 3 days straight from the same spot. But it did. It kept going on and on and on and on and on. And by day 2, they deleted their press release because you can't have a thunderstorm. And of course, it wasn't visible to the human eye on it. It was clear day. No, not a cloud in the sky. It can't be a thunderstorm. There's nothing there. So why can't you see anything, though? It was a miles-wide area release of steam of some kind. Or I would think maybe at a ground level, it just looked hazy and felt humid, maybe. But that the radar was picking up a steam plume signature coming out from over here, right next to where the earthquake coordinates are now. To top it all off, in 2011, within a few weeks maybe, a 5.0 earthquake struck right next to this. Out here in the Mojave, right next to the location. My viewers drove out there to go inspect, to go see what was going on. They stayed on the highways and drove around out there, and those videos are still on YouTube as well. When they went out to go inspect Pisgah after the steam event that everybody saw. It wasn't just me. I mean, anybody could see it on the radar. Oh, and by the way, the top skeptic explanation was, are you ready? Must have been a military blast because of 29 Palms on the other side of the mountain range down on this is right next to the highway, guys. Oh, and by the way, the military did contact me on that video in 2011 after the USGS issued their press release and deleted it. I get a comment telling me to call communications commander of communications or communications commander at 29 Palms military base and to ask for him and da-da-da-da-da and call him. And I'm like, uh-oh. So I'm like, should I? And I call and they put me through. I called the base, went to a switchboard. They put me through to a secretary who put me through to the communications commander, and he wanted me to take down my video. Not because of anything military-wise. They were worried people were going to come on from the south, try to come through the base because there's perfect access to the backside of the volcanic field all the way through the mountains, and that it's not on the base property, but they were worried people were going to come through the base and didn't want people to do that, wanted me to remove my video because whatever. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. I said to him, look, if I remove the video, that's going to cause more suspicion and people will really want to go out and see what's going on out there. Why don't I just put a disclaimer on the video and say, don't go out there, don't go through the military base. If you're going to go, stick to the highways. Don't get out of your car. It's Death Valley anyways, kind of scenario out here, major desert. You don't want to get out unless you're going somewhere out here. And I put it up in one of these pop-up warnings that used to be able to put on YouTube where like a big red box would appear on the screen. And it was all good. This was in July. By September, my YouTube channel was terminated. Violation of community servants guidelines for all these radar and volcano videos. I had to fight for a month to get it back. Anyway, now we have a new earthquake out there. And why? Why did I take the whole time to tell you that long, convoluted story of how I got my fame online? Well, earthquakes come down across, and travel across, and look where Ludlow is. It's out here on the transfer zone, which are all faults pointing in the same direction as the rest of the faults going across most of California except for the Garlock, which is this wall that stands in the way between North, Central, and Southern California. So North and Central are combined together, Southern California kind of sitting on its own, and there's a line that comes across it, going across the Mojave and the San Andreas. And that is the line the earthquakes are taking right now, coming across in a 1.6. Why does that matter? Same-sized earthquake came out of the valley, 1.5 to 1.6. Now, finally, Southern California. Let's go down into LA, eh? Let's go down there and check it out. Oh, wow. Hot damn. Beverly Hills, after all this oil well talking. Oh, man, I could crack so many Beverly Hillbillies jokes right now. But I'm not going to. The kinfolk said, Jed, move away from there. Okay, that's enough. Enough of that shenanigans. What do we have here? We're going right down below a house. Whoa. Whoa. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. What is that? Okay, it's some kind of park, but we've got ourselves tennis courts, pools, movie stars. Tennis courts, pools, movie stars. Hollywood. Hello, Weird. Hello, Weird up in Hollywood. Hello, Wood. Hellywood? No. Hello, Weird. Yeah, I like that better. So there's Beverly Hills. Is there anything else here nearby? Now, I do know that they used to have oil pumping operations a long time ago up here in Beverly Hills, which they sold off and built mansions over a lot of it. So if you hear bumping in the basement, it's not poltergeist, guys. It's the oil geist. It's the ghost of the dinosaurs, as I said. Now, seriously now, we're on the north side. We are just on the north side of a pumping operation. I just want to show this to you really quick. We have the Baldwin Hills on the south side of Culver City. So it's far enough away, 5 miles, that you probably wouldn't think about it much in Beverly Hills. But seismically speaking, like I told you, they can drill at an angle. So theoretically, I'm not saying they are, but theoretically, they could drill from this point up high, down, over at an angle, and be right down below this location if there aren't already other wells nearby. And they may very well be, if I could say it proper, that's a tongue twister, may very well be. Now down to the east, by southeast, we have a few small earthquakes, and then we pick back up with a big old line of quakes going down across Southern California, doing the same thing that all the others are doing, the stacks of earthquakes and the line northwest to southeast. If I zoom in on these locations, I will show you there's something at most of these spots. So for instance, let's start here with this 1.1. Home Gardens, Quarry Blast. Wait a second, are these all quarry blasts? Let's look up this one. Now wait a second. There are 2 earthquakes right on top of each other. One's 5.6 kilometer depth. This is on the Elsinore Fault. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We've got meow factor going on now. Well, this happens from time to time towards the end of the update. Hold on one second. Okay, we're calling for Duchess. Maybe she'll respond. I don't know. She might come save me. She might not. But look at the Elsinore Fault. Here's Lake Elsinore, and you can see it on the edge of the mountains. It goes northwest to southeast. Now get back over here and look at the map. Elsinore Fault, northwest to southeast, here. And that's the line of quakes, going right across, again, LA. But then we jump over, off the Elsinore, and all this big line of quakes going down next to Salton Sea, that's making up the San Jacinto Fault. So one set of quakes on the Elsinore, we jump over to the east, going all the way down into Southern California, meeting back up with the San Andreas. Look at the line of quakes. It's a perfect match. There's just a handful going around the outside eastern edge of Salton Sea. The predominance is to the west of Salton Sea. And to the east of Salton Sea is the plate boundary. The thinner red lines, the faults, are what's moving. Now wait. The professional said 5 years ago that this spot here on the San Jacinto, across Anza Gap and Aguanga, California, here where all the quakes are, that was quote-unquote slow slipping with tremors. Now wait a second. Tremors. Where have we talked about tremors? Let's go back to the tremor map. The little red dots up in the northwest. These are tremors with zeros, ones, and a few twos mixed in, where the plate is shifting up here. Now, the professionals told us 5 years ago that down here was slow slipping, with all of those small quakes. So shouldn't all these be on this map here? Well, you know what they'll say? Well, this map only covers Washington, Oregon, and Northern California, Dutch. There is no Southern California tremor map network to cover all that. And they don't combine them for whatever reason, so you only get a partial view. And it's nothing deliberate. It's just that we're not showing you the earthquakes down in Southern California on this map, because if you did see them, you would see, again, Northern California is getting hit with all the little red dots. Let's get those on here from the 13th, or the 12th. All these. And then you'd see a bunch down here in Southern California, same thing. Spread out in a diagonal line going northwest to southeast, like you do on here. And then you'd get it. You'd say, okay, down here is shifting, up here is shifting. And what's happening between the two? Another way to look at it, on one end of the tank, we're shifting, and on the other end of the tank, we're shifting. And what's happening in between the two? And that sums it up for the whole plate. And that sums it up for the whole planet, actually. Did I miss anywhere? I think I didn't really cover Texas. I could go pull the 3.0 in Texas. You know what? Let's do that. Let's go pull up the Craton Edge in Texas. Just for my Texas viewers. My Utah viewers, you know what? I didn't cover Utah either. Or Nevada. So I got to keep going. Hold on. Keep on trucking. We're going to keep on trucking. It's the weekend here. It's the weekend here in the States. It's the weekend everywhere, I think. Maybe on another planet it's not. Oh, wait. Oh, hot damn. Look where we are. We're at the NEXRAD radar station. We're also at a series of underground bunkers that are here nearby. Right up here, which somebody told me is a nuclear storage facility. All these underground bunkers. And the location in question, the name. Here, I guess I should turn on my borders, labels, and places. What is this place called? B&W Technical Services at Pantex. Yes, Pantex. Now look what else we have here. 2 detections, actually 4 at this spot. And look at the measurement on this. It's got actually 832 Kelvin as a temperature, so it's not a false temperature reading. 2 hot spots at the location next to the NEXRAD radar station, next to where the earthquake is. To top it all off, we have connecting between them a set of railroads. So, hotspots, earthquake, NEXRAD high-power microwave station, and railroad along metal tracks. The only thing missing is power station. And I mean big power lines. But that's enough for me. That's a 3.0 earthquake. It's pretty much the largest of the bunch in the Midwest. The rest of the locations across the Midwest, across all of Oklahoma, every single location across Oklahoma here is at a drill point. I can pull the biggest of the bunch in the middle. We go right over to the edge of the Craton here, where the arrow is. But I can pull the middle point, 1.8, 2.6. You guys are welcome to fact check me if you don't believe there's drill points at all these locations. There's 550,000 different drill points now across Oklahoma for oil and gas. So pretty much anywhere where you zoom in now in Oklahoma, these earthquakes are breaking out suddenly and they're striking at drill points, weak points. But I'll show it to you. A picture speaks 1,000 words. There's the earthquake epicenter, and right next to it, within 100 feet or less, there's our nearest drill point. Oil well, gas well, and we go across the road and there's even a newer one. Meow. We have meow factor going on again. That's okay. So across Oklahoma, all drill points. I have not looked up the 2.8 up at the Kansas-Nebraska border region. Hey, Duchess, you wouldn't want to do a little feline tendon here, would you? Whoa. Wednesday. She might just want up on the desk. Okay. Oh, man. You know, the squeakiest wheel get oil first. Old proverb says. Okay, is there anything here nearby? I don't know. I have to go look. I haven't looked up the location before. There's cow pastures, a lot of that. Ah, hold on. We have previous earthquakes striking all around this and a lot of old quarries. Small quarries in the area, surface perforations where they've done strip mining of some kind. And they're in clusters, at least 3 or 4 of them, right around each other. Some kind of strip mining. I wonder if there's enough of these that it's starting to stand out. I don't know what they'd be mining here. Oh, wait, hold on. We have a high voltage power line here with substation and everything, going right across the field where the earthquake is. High voltage power line. Another spot. I mean, come on. It's getting weird. It's getting weird. So the perforations from the small quarries, I mean, there are enough quarries everywhere around the entire country that's kind of... But the high voltage power lines, they only go through maybe 1 or 2 per county. So to get it right down next to it again, when we already have so many other examples, Texas was another one. The only thing missing here is a hotspot of some kind. Okay, I'm glad I'm looking these up. Now we go over to the east, and over on the New Madrid seismic zone, look what the size quake is. 2.8. Why does that matter? 2.8 struck up here in North Kansas, and a 2.8 to 2.9 earthquake struck over here in Texas. We go back up to the west-northwest, and we have our spreads of 1s and 2s going up to 3.6. In other words, 3.6 on the west coast, 2.8s across the plate. Reaching over to the New Madrid seismic zone, there are no drill points that I know of here, but famous last words, right? I'll say that I know of. Blytheville, Arkansas. Let's go in. I can say it that way. I've earned the right. I'm from Missouri. My Arkansan viewers, you guys know Arkansasian? Arkansasan? What are Arkansasies? Arkansasites. Look what you have here. Some kind of private jet port of some kind. And I don't know what to make of this. Delta? Those are Delta jets. It's so odd to have these all here. Maybe it's some kind of working hub where Delta works on their airplanes of some kind. But again, there's just a whole bunch of jets there in Blytheville, Arkansas. Now I wonder, because we're on the New Madrid seismic zone. Wait, what was the name of the town there? What was the name of that town that I just saw? I hope I didn't just really see that. Let's just hope that was just a trick of the eye. Hope it was a trick of the eye, because I thought I saw the name of a town that you would just be like, what? I can't believe that's the name of a town. Let me just make sure. Okay. I'm hallucinating. All right. That's good. That's great. Seeing a name that's not there. Or maybe I did and I just, it's not appearing anymore. So 2.8, 2.8, 2.8, 2.8 across the plate. Following the Craton edge, goes back over to the west coast with its 2s and 3s. Ultimately, I'm going to expect over the next few days for what's going on around the rest of the plate to happen off the west coast of the United States and to come into the west coast of the United States. Let's look at our bigger earthquakes here really quick. See the middle point between our sets of 3s? Look where they overlap. Eureka. Eureka, California. But there's something in Eureka. Do you know? Do you remember from the start of the update? Let's go back over and open up the plate boundary map one more time, the thick red lines from the USGS. This is Eureka, right here. Look where it is. It's on the southern arm of the Juan de Fuca that's been shifting. And lo and behold, it's the halfway point between our 4s, basically, or upper 3s. I will look for a larger earthquake to strike where the 2 rings overlap. 1 magnitude, maybe even 1.5 magnitude larger, which puts us up into the 5 range. But we shouldn't be shocked. The rest of the plate's moving on that same level. All the way around. As a matter of fact, Mexico's got a 6. And our 6s across the plate and 5s going up into Japan. So we shouldn't be caught off guard by a new 5 that comes rolling into Northern California in the next few days. Southwest Oregon, Northern California. We have to incorporate in the area off the coast and on land. On land. Oh, all right. And then, finally, we have to watch downstream. Let's go back to all the smaller earthquakes, because that's the easy part on this to remember. If we get our 5 up here on the north side, what do you think that's going to do to everything downstream following these 2 paths that we currently see? It will increase. It's like dropping a new rock in the pond, and another wave forms and spreads across the tank. So once a new 5 strikes in Northern California, I immediately look at the same time or around the same time for Southern California to get hit. And there'll be 2 spots in Southern California to get hit this week. One here at the middle open point next to Lompoc, California, southwest of the valley. San Andreas, southwest. Santa Cruz Islands, etc. And then down here to the south. San Diego down into Mexico. Both are going to get hit. Now, I would think it would be just a hair less down here than it is up here. So if it's 5-ish range up here, it would be 4s down to the south. I would also look for a swarm outbreak down at Salton Sea. Maybe even new sulfuric smells of some kind to start happening around here, just because the plate is shifting and we know the rest of the planet's shifting around the Pacific. So that takes me back to the whole start of the update, the Pacific. The Pacific has been shifting, and let's just make sure we've got our correct feed turned on here. Pacific has been shifting for the last couple weeks at this point, with serious deep earthquake activity. And we've seen an increase in the 6.0 range activity going up to 6.8. 6.8 struck over in Mongolia just this few days ago. Let's get that on here. As a matter of fact, let's show you the last several days worth of 6.0 and greater, or 5.9 and greater. The red earthquakes are from several days ago. The pink earthquakes are from a couple days ago. So you see it. All sides of the Pacific. East, 5.9 and 6.1. West, 5.9 and 6.1. Then, 6.2 in Indonesia. And 6.8, well, now downgraded, 6.7 in Mongolia. 5.9, oh, meow. Meow. Time to stop. It's time to stop. This cat keeps working her way back in. Duchess just can't do it. It's okay. No. I do not expect the Duchess to be the cat keeper. You know, hey, you know what? It's like, who are the 2 cat guys from out in Las Vegas? Siegfried and Roy? All right. You guys are great. The cats are doing better. I hope you have an earthquake plan that incorporates in your pets. Do you have appropriate cat food? Do you have appropriate dog food? Pet food? Bird food? Whatever you've got? Fish food? Do you have a plan? Do you have an earthquake plan? I guess that's most important. You need to know what to do when an earthquake strikes. I saw the most troubling video. I hate to be a downer on this, but... well, dude, you just got to go look up Indonesia earthquake for the past week on YouTube. I'm not showing it on here. You can go over to the Disaster Compilations channel on YouTube. They have a few 100,000 subscribers. You'll find them. Search Disaster Compilation channel on YouTube. You'll find their channel. Or to search the Indonesia quake, you'll find the video compilation. There's people trapped in buildings where you can just see their head. They're talking. Whoever it is trapped, but the whole building's around them. It's concrete, too. So it's huge concrete blocks all the way around them. It's just the most troubling thing. And I start to think about earthquake plans and how if it's a large earthquake, and you really only have a few seconds. You know, a table is not going to protect you from a collapsing building. If you live in a concrete structure that's reinforced concrete, maybe you might be okay. If you live in a stone stack building of some kind that's like cobblestone or brick, and a big earthquake is happening, you might have to, as the earthquake's happening, it's not recommended. But if the structure is collapsing, you don't have a choice, that you would go over out of the structure somewhere. Hey, wait, hold on. A new rare earthquake has just struck over on the east coast of the United States. The middle point between our other 2 previous sets of quakes. Look at that. So we go back 2 days. Look at this. Go back 2 days. There's the earthquake up in New Brunswick, by the way. But this new one just struck in Virginia. Hold on. Deerfield, Virginia, at a 5-kilometer depth on the eastern edge of the North American craton. Let's get a display capture turned on. There we are. And we'll pull the coordinates and put them in. One more time, we're on the edge of the craton over on the East Coast. Wow. East Coast earthquake. Virginia weighing in. You know, you just couldn't leave well enough alone. You got hot spots in Virginia. Hold on. Just to the south, we got 3 equal-spaced hot spots. Or at least 1 equal-spaced hot spot between 2 others. Headwaters, West Augusta. Oh, wait. Look what we have going through here. The high-voltage power lines, 3 sets of them on a huge set of towers. Going through the folds and bends in the edge of the craton. Look at that. Hold on. Let's turn off our borders and labels. Turn off our place marks. Turn off everything. And then we'll turn them back on real quick because I got to go look up those hotspots. But going through the edge of the craton, it's like one of the spots where the power lines are coming through. Wow. Right next to it again. I wonder how far we are. I mean, it's just a matter of like literally we're right next to it. There are the power lines. There's the quake. And it's on the edge of the craton, which is a weak point in the folds of the bends of the plate, which you can see going all the way down the eastern seaboard. Now, what about these three? I have to look next to these and see if there's anything there. Well, again, we are right next to it. Now, we also have a highway and a railroad. Highway, railroad, and high voltage power lines next to each other. That's going to be a little bit harder to determine. These two, this is right next to it. There's the clear cut for the high voltage lines and the high voltage power lines and the weird detection of some kind of anomalous hotspot there. What about down to the east-southeast? What about, another spot where there's a perfect clear cut and we're at the high voltage power lines, multiple sets going across this area. How many is too many before we get something to relate to one another? So 2.8, 2.6, 2.1. This is 72 hours worth of quakes, roughly 3 days worth of quakes. Look at the craton edge and look at the quakes. Let me turn off the magnitude so you can just get a shot of the actual rings of the quake. Going down through Texas, down through Colorado, Texas, going back up into Oklahoma, back over to the New Madrid, back up the East Coast. Perfect match. And the reason I'm making a big deal about that is because the professionals said that could never happen. There could be no spread of quakes going across the craton from one side to the other. But it's not that one earthquake's causing the other. It's that all the quakes are being caused by a spreading standing wave that I've been showing you this whole update. And it's whether they're big or small, the standing wave is forming across the plates and plate boundaries, dropping off the quakes along the way. All right, now we're done. Has anything else struck since starting this update? This has been like a long update. I know you guys are getting your money's worth tonight online. Oh, wait, you can watch for free? Oh, all right. Anybody can watch for free, but if you want to join, you can actually join me over on Twitch. You know, if you're watching on YouTube, you're watching a pre-recorded event. If you're watching on Twitch, you're watching live. I record these and then go put them on YouTube. But for instance, you can watch the spread real time of all these 5s and 4s spreading out like the standing wave that I've been showing you the whole update. Spreading out across the tank, if you will. You can watch that happen live on Twitch with everybody else. If you have Amazon Prime, it's free. So you can just, if you already have Amazon Prime, you just get a free subscription to Twitch. It doesn't cost you anything. They just throw it in with your Amazon Prime. So no biggie, but anybody can watch. It's just if you want to be in the chat room kind of thing. All right. And for my YouTube viewers now, first of all, you guys have done a tremendous job in getting the information out to the world because of the heavy lifting on YouTube and on Twitch. Twitch is doing it live, like I said. YouTube is the pre-recorded videos that I'm saving, and you guys are sharing that. Whether you're doing it either way, I'm 100% positive that the professionals and people around the world have heard and seen the method. And if you're very curious and you want to do this yourself, of course you would have to give me credit for inspiring you, I guess, but I'm not looking for any kind of chest beating or anything. You can follow the step-by-step directions that I put out. How to Forecast an Earthquake by Dutch Sense, which is just a step-by-step, informative 1-hour-long video explaining all the concepts and how to do it yourself. How to find the middle points between the sets of quakes, basically. How to add up the magnitudes on both sides. Basic stuff. It's been out for several years. I've done several versions of it. There's no hidden factor on this. I want everybody to be able to repeat the method. There's no mystery in this. It's not soothsaying. It's not prediction. This is forecasting. Repeatable methods. Through observation. How did we determine where the X's go? Well, they're where the plate boundaries dead end in two. How did we determine where the D's go? Well, that's where the deep earthquakes usually strike. Pretty simple. Observation. Over a long period of time, we watch where the deep earthquakes happen. I said, you know what? We need to put a letter D there to signify that's where deep earthquakes usually take place. So we can watch for it in the future. And lo and behold, look at our letter Ds. Next to Japan, next to Fiji, over in Indonesia, over in Afghanistan, down in South America, they all get hit regularly. They're forecast points. So if anybody told you earthquakes can't be forecast, you just show them this letter D on the map and say, deep earthquakes hit there. That's forecasting. And of course, then they'll hem and haw. Well. Hubba. And that's the way it goes with people who have been in denial about earthquake forecasting. I'll be back. If anything else goes down, have an earthquake plan and be prepared. Remember my motto, I've used this a lot. Don't be scared. Be prepared. Emergency kit, you should check that off the list. Change of clothes, set of shoes, flashlight, batteries, first aid kit, sanitation nowadays. Even not nowadays. You need to have sanitation in case you get injured. Or just in case you get dirty. It's probably be pretty dirty if you're outside and you're in a big earthquake situation trying to help other people. Or if you're just trying to help yourself. Think about your children, think about the elderly, and think about the disabled. If you know anybody around you that's elderly, disabled, or has kids, maybe even take it upon yourself to have extra supplies. You never know, you might end up helping somebody and save a life where you don't even really need the stuff for more than a few days, and you've got your supplies set. If you have a little extra, you can always share it. All right, much love, everyone. I'll be back, and we'll save this now as a video, put it out over on YouTube. Peace out.